North Carolina has a little of everything: mountains, ocean, cities, farms. But it's also diverse when it comes to people's opinions on politics. Republicans, Democrats, and what's known as unaffiliated voters, they're all over the state. This week, I'm traveling through North Carolina to take a closer look at whether this battleground state could actually flip Democrat for the first time since 2008, or will it vote Republican again? Let's find out. All right, hey guys, I'm Ruben Jones. I've been reporting on North Carolina for more than 7 years now. I used to live in the state, and now I cover North Carolina politics from Washington, D.C. Look, this state is so critical in November, potentially for both campaigns. So even if you don't know much about North Carolina, we're going to tell you a lot about it because it is so critical. Look, the Democrats, they've been trying to flip this state for numerous elections now, and they just keep coming up short. So we're going to try and answer that question of whether Democrats can flip this state blue. I'm going to talk to both campaigns, get a feel of what they're doing. Also going to talk to voters and make a lot of different stops on this trip all throughout the week. So it should be a fun week. Let's get it started. So it's Sunday, and I flew into Raleigh this morning, and to just set the scene here for you, just last night, Senator J.D. Vance made a surprise visit to Eastern North Carolina. You've also got Trump, who's going to go to Wilmington, hold a campaign rally there on Saturday, and then, not to be forgotten, the Harris campaign will also be here because Tim Walz is going to be in here on Tuesday. He's going to come to Asheville. So these candidates are really blitzing North Carolina. So let me just set the scene here for you, because it was 2008. That was the last time Democrats voted for a president, a Democratic president, Barack Obama. Since then, they continue to strike out. 2012, it went to Romney. 2016, it went to Trump. 2020, just narrowly, it went to Trump as well. This year, 2024, Democrats feel pretty good that they could actually win North Carolina. They've invested really a lot of resources.
We've built a campaign built to scale. We started it earlier than ever before, and we feel confident in the level of infrastructure.
Right now, I think she's got an even better infrastructure built into the ground than Barack Obama did in 2008.
But it's still a challenge, because you talk to a lot of people here and they'll tell you, yeah, North Carolina is a purple state, but it kind of hews red.
Is all of the money that they're taking into their coffers really going to pay off to push a potentially stuck battleground state into the Democrats' win column?
So today I'm going to Eastern North Carolina, which doesn't always get the attention as other parts of the state. It has a little more poverty and a little more unemployment. So here's some of the conversations I had with voters in Eastern North Carolina. You'll hear from two Trump supporters from the Durham area, but I caught up with them at a barbecue spot in Wilson. This voter named Larry Matlock hasn't voted for a Democrat since Bill Clinton. Then you'll hear from two Democrats, one in the town of Tarboro and another in Wilson. Then a Trump campaign volunteer who we joined as she campaigned in Nash County, which is likely to be neck and neck between Trump and Harris in November. But first, we take you to that barbecue spot.
Turn left. You've entered the parking lot for your destination.
Is this the best barbecue in Eastern North Carolina?
I don't know about that. Mike cooks the best barbecue.
Is that right? There's nothing Democrats could say or Harris could say that would sway you to vote for it.
North Carolina used to be a Democratic state.
Yeah.
But this is not the same Democratic Party as it was when I was growing up. My dad was a Democrat. Yeah, but the Democratic Party is no longer the same type of party.
I think they moved away from their principles and agendas. I think their beliefs are too far Marxist, too far left.
Social issues are big for you.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't sit well with everybody, you know that.
Yeah.
He doesn't always stick to script. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
Okay.
It's free speech. He can say what he wants to. He should be able to. And he's not the same politician we get where they just say the same things over and over and over again.
A rusty holderness. Been here 74 years. I think there are a lot of pro-Trump Republicans in our community, and they're all a lot of good friends of mine. In our men's Bible study, for example, I could go around the table and I can name who's who, but that doesn't mean we get bent out of shape over any of it. I'm going to support Kamala, and I think for several reasons. I personally don't believe that either Biden or Trump, they're both too old. I couldn't do this at my age, and they're older than I am. I just think we need youth, and I'm excited about having somebody young that's competent that I think will do a great job.
First name's James, J-A-M-E-S. Last name is Lucas, L-U-C-A-S.
Democrats can't forget about the rural areas, though.
No, they cannot. No, they cannot. The rural areas are something that we really have to focus on, and I'm doing campaigning and things out in some of the rural areas here in Worcester County. Conversation. We don't get out there enough and explain to them exactly what's going on. The rural areas, they watch certain things on the news, they catch certain things on the news, but they don't pay attention to the news. They don't get the last end results of what they're actually saying in the news. You know, so it's best that you get out to the rural areas and let people know exactly what's going on.
I'm Yvonne McLeod. We've been in Rocky Mount for 18 years. Originally, I'm from Jamaica, so I've been a naturalized citizen for 30 years. This election, I think the border is huge. As a naturalized citizen, it absolutely is nauseating to see people running through the border as if it doesn't exist. Not willing to become a part of America, but will come in here just to take whatever they can and however they can, and that is really annoying. We've had Democrat rule in so many of our rural areas, District 1 in particular, for so long, and nothing's changed. So I think people are really looking for a change. We have been making strides with things that matter, with the farming issue, with people wanting to have their children, the choices of their schools.
Who would you be voting for president?
Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you.
So here's what you need to know about North Carolina. The Trump and Harris campaigns have zeroed in on 7 battleground states this year: Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Of those states, the only one that didn't vote for Joe Biden in 2020 was North Carolina. So Trump is on defense here, while the Harris campaign thinks they may be able to flip it this year. Critical to Harris winning is boosting turnout in the state's big cities of Charlotte and Raleigh, which she will easily win, but she needs to do even better than Democrats of recent. But what's interesting about North Carolina that I don't think many people realize is the state has the second largest rural population in the country, with nearly 3.5 million people. There's actually a greater percentage of North Carolinians, 33%, who live in rural areas than Texas, for example. And so this is why you've seen the campaigns put significant focus on rural North Carolina, a place where Trump has done well, which brings us to our next stop. We're headed now to a little bit more east to the city of Greenville, which is a pretty good-sized city, and is a Democratic city. But what's interesting is that J.D. Vance just came to Greenville a couple days ago, I guess about 2 days ago, and he went to a football game at Eastern Carolina University. So I'm going to go check it out. I'm curious to see what voters have to think about Vance coming to town. What do you think about him showing up to Eastern North Carolina and to a university campus?
You know, Trump came for a rally in 2016 or 2020 here, but other than that, not a whole lot of political candidates come down and try and talk to the youth here. So I feel like that kind of game where it really pulled together a lot of Eastern North Carolina and a swing state, I think it was smart and I liked it, and it created a lot of excitement around.
I think it was kind of expected that they would show up here, us being a swing state and Greenville sort of really being a hub of, I would guess, Democratic voters, but also still kind of being a representation of both voters. So it made sense that they would kind of show up eventually to try and talk to students. I just think his ideologies on campus can be dangerous, especially for a lot of certain demographics of students who are already sort of dangerous in their ideologies.
You typically think of college campuses as more democratic, but East Carolina University is sort of interesting because I heard from a number of people on campus who say it's more of a 50-50 split, and that's probably because it's drawing in students from some more Republican rural counties.
It's a bit of a contradiction on the face of it, right? It's a Republican candidate coming to a college campus, but it's a college campus in the middle of rural eastern North Carolina.
But look, Democrats know they need to close the margins in these red counties.
Are you registered to vote?
During my trip, I caught up with North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton, who is not only the youngest party chair, state party chair in the country, she's also from a rural area. And she talked to me about the changing political affiliations in rural areas and what Democrats are doing this year. I joined her on a college campus.
The historical trends of how the Democratic Party has reshaped itself over the last 70 years in North Carolina is something to be studied. The Paradox of Tar Heel Politics, if anybody's interested in a book by Rob Christensen, would be a great place to start with that. There was existing infrastructure in this state. It just needed to be revived. It needed power to be put into it. It needed capacity built up to it. Like, we have lost rural North Carolina on 80-20 margins the last 4 election cycles. What if we just did it a little bit better and we moved it to 60-40? All we're asking to do. Hey, are you registered to vote? I am. Can I give you one of these? Down ballot candidates in North Carolina. I think right now young people need to be organizing young people, which is why we're paying folks to actually be on these campuses. We have 2 organizers that are dedicated to Meredith and NC State, and we have that across the state. We were just at NC A&T the other day, and we had 131 commit to vote cards for Kamala Harris in under an hour on that campus.
So you have paid people at campuses across the state.
Mm-hmm. Paid organizers and then paid fellows underneath them.
Okay.
So it's the largest campus vote program that we've had in North Carolina in recent history, especially when you look at the fact that in 2008, what won Barack Obama this state was the historic turnout amongst HBCUs and youth turnout.
Now, we also caught up with the head of the Republican Party in the state. And remember, Republicans have done well in North Carolina. Trump chose the last GOP chair, Michael Watley, to co-lead the National Republican Party.
Is there a risk, though, of getting into a position where you're comfortable with the status quo?
No, and this is what keeps me up at night. How do you continue to make sure that you're moving that ball forward? Making sure that you are having every opportunity maximized every single day to get out the vote.
And how difficult is it to win the White House if you don't get North Carolina?
No pressure on North Carolina, and that's one of those things that keeps me up at night. You know, we understand the critical nature of North Carolina when it comes to the presidential election, and making sure that we deliver North Carolina so we can celebrate Donald J. Trump being once again elected to the White House. We've got that winning formula, and again, we've been able to, with our volunteers, with the data, continuing to drill down where are those voters that are going to turn out for President Trump, getting out to them, getting in front of them, and then getting them out to vote.
I ended my week in Cabarrus County outside of Charlotte. It's a solidly Republican county, but in recent elections, the gap has gotten smaller. I tagged along with this Harris campaign volunteer.
My granddaughters, they are my North Star. They're 9 years old. I've even trained them to be canvassers. So, I mean, that's my heart. That's why I do this. I want to leave them a world that's better than what it is right now. Rosa Culver Sims. If you put a second M in it, you got to give me $1 million.
What's the biggest issue for you that you want to hear from the candidates to address?
Well, actually, I think they have, because, I mean, democracy, in my opinion, if we don't have that, nothing else matters. You know, there won't be any kind of rights. So that freedom is critical to me at that point, so it's a little different. Hi, how are you?
Sims feels good about this year's ticket as she takes her message through the city of Concord.
Can we count on you to support Kamala?
Oh, always. I'm Democrat straight.
Democratic straight.
But behind a solid Democrat is a solid no vote. This man says he's never voted before.
What would it take to change your mind?
You made your pitch, but what more can you do?
It takes sitting down, having a conversation with them. That's why the canvassing way before the election is so important. Because
You could have a return conversation.
Exactly.
Have you done that before?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Would you return to someone like that?
I would. I really would. Says, you know, I was here before and you said, you know, you've never voted. You don't get into that. I want to find out more about you.
Do you think there's more undecided voters, or are there more people who maybe they care but just aren't going to vote? You know, they know who they want, but it's a matter of getting them to vote, not necessarily getting them to choose your person.
I think there's a fair number of people like that. But I think for the most part, people have probably chosen their sides.
So I'm heading to the airport in Charlotte, wrapping up 6 jam-packed days, traveling the great state of North Carolina, talked to so many different voters. And look, the goal of this trip was not to predict who's going to win in November, but rather to put in place some context, hear different perspectives, see what the campaigns are doing. It is so easy to generalize that this is the top issue for everybody. But when you talk to people, some people have just different things that send them to the polls. And so, you know, as we often say, going into an election, it will fall to turnout, and we're gonna see the candidates appear in this state a lot. But what we know for sure is that they are taking North Carolina seriously, as they should. Kamala Harris has a real fighting chance, but Republicans also have a really good chance to win as well. So hopefully you learned something. I know I did. And it's been a fun week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Off to the airport, head back to DC, and I'm gonna take a nap.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.